I'm Joe Cushley, and this is a Balling the Jack special for Resonance FM. It's always very satisfying when your heroes turn out to be lovely human beings too. And ever since her arrival on the scene in the early 90s, I've been in deep awe of musician and songwriter PJ Harvey. And a couple of weeks ago, I finally got the chance to interview her and her longtime collaborator John Parish, courtesy of fellow Resonance DJ Ben Thompson. We talked extensively about their superb new album, A Woman, a Man Walked By, released a mere 13 years after their first joint venture, Dance Hall at Louse Point. We also discussed their working methods, artistic influences, Polly's long-distance relationship with Captain Beefheart, and her profound love of the blues. But first, to introduce this window into the creative lives of Harvey and Parish, here's a blast of their current single, Black-Hearted Love. Hi, this is Joe Cushley on Resonance FM 104.4, and I'm delighted to have two of my favourite musicians in the studio today, PJ Harvey, Polly Jean Harvey, and John Parish. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. And they've actually come up with a new album after 13 years. So by my reckoning, your next collaboration will be 2022. Is that correct?
That's when the studio's been booked.
Yes, good. But I mean, of course, you've performed together and played together over those years. But what do you think, Polly? You often talk about wanting to challenge yourself and not repeat yourself. So why did you go back to working with John?
Well, you can see as well that I continue really to work with the same musicians over and over again. For me, I feel like I am my hardest judge on those things, on whether I'm repeating myself or not. And then I want to be amongst and in an environment which is going to enable me to go into new areas. And for me personally, that needs to be with musicians that I trust implicitly, that know where I'm heading, that are on the similar wavelength and journey anyway musically, and that are my greatest friends. That enables me to go into these extraordinary new places. And so I do tend to continue to work with a similar crowd of people. And also I know that John as well has extremely high goals for himself of where he wants to go and what he wants to work towards, and equally, I think, like myself, he's interested in exploration and experimentation and finding out what he's capable of as an artist and a writer as much as I am. And so when we're working together, it's it even strengthens that in each other, because in some respects we're watching each other with that, making sure that we're continuing to try and find these new areas. I certainly have always felt that the most excitement and satisfaction I feel is when I'm coming across new avenues, new areas that I haven't touched on before. That's the most exciting I feel my work can be or become.
So, I mean, on this album, how did you challenge yourself? Because, I mean, there are certain, I don't want to say, oh, you're repeating yourself, but there are certain things that seem to be the way that you work together. But how did you challenge yourself specifically on the new album?
Well, obviously, we
And a bit of background to the working process as well, because it's interesting that it's songs written by... It's the same credit, actually, as the dancer. That's obviously a deliberate touch that you make exactly the same credit, you know.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely the way that we feel we work strongest together, with, you know, me writing the music first and delivering pretty much finished instrumental compositions for Polly to then work on and fit lyrics and vocals to.
Does she surprise you do you write songs, I mean the music for the songs, and then she comes up with something which you think is totally alien to the mood or what you envisaged, or do you not even let yourself envisage things?
I certainly don't have any preconception of what she's going to come back with. Even on the songs that maybe I've sent a title to, I still have no idea and no wish for it to be anything that you know, that I really feel that's Polly's role, and I'm really excited to hear what she comes back with. And some things are extremely surprising. I mean, there are some pieces where, say, something like the song "Leaving California," which was a more obvious traditional song structure than some of the other pieces. So I had more of an idea where the vocals were, approximately where they were going to be, and there was a couple of strong melodies inferred in the music that I thought she would probably latch onto. Whereas there are other pieces, say the Chair, for instance, which I really had no idea what or how you could sing over that piece. So that was, for me, astonishing when I heard back that sort of incredibly moving piece, you know, the piece about the the loss of a son. It was such a moving lyric to put over such a chaotic and aggressive piece of music, and I really loved that juxtaposition. And of course, it was a complete surprise.
Do you think you deliberately challenge her, or conversely, do you think, oh, I hope John sends me something incredibly challenging?
No, I don't think either of us are that calculated about it, really.
Right.
I think all we each try to do is make it as good as it can be as a piece, and emotionally engaging as it can be.
It's not so much a challenge as that we have a really high expectation and very high hopes of each other, because because are an absolutely real source of inspiration, and I really want to have that, because there aren't very many sources that I find utterly inspiring, and you cherish those, and if there's any way of encouraging them, then obviously that's exactly what I'm going to be looking for.
What I noticed about the album, it just seemed just slightly broader and slightly mellower. Do you think? I know, and this is something that a lot of people say about your music, Polly, is that it's all very morbid, but I've always seen this kind of dark humour and slight playfulness under it, and that seems to become even more to the fore in this. I mean, the video to Black Hearted Love is you on a bouncy castle. I mean, it's a kind of bouncy castle in the middle of a Blair Witch Project forest. But I was very disappointed not to see you bouncing on the bouncy castle as well, John.
He does appear.
He does. Oh, there is a backdrop sort of image, isn't there? There's a kind of faded image. And the record sounds slightly mellower. I mean, there are the dark elements, but would you say that's fair?
I probably wouldn't word it like that. I think quite naturally, as one gets older, you obviously gather wisdom and you learn more about yourself. And in some aspects, yes, it sort of inhabit one's skin more, because there's more of you to inhabit your own skin, just through gaining knowledge, experience, perspective. Quite naturally, then, I feel that the work you make changes along with it. And I do agree with what you said about this album being much broader and a greater depth to it. And I do think that both John and I, as artists, are much more capable of fully realising music and words and for me narratives than we ever were 12, 13 years ago with our first record together. So I wouldn't call it mellowing. I'd just say greater depth, clarity, realisation, because we're actually more capable of that because of what we've learned in all these years.
And perhaps understanding the variety of life more, I don't know.
Well, understanding is a difficult word to apply,
okay.
but I just greater experience.
Or accepting.
And which with it brings greater perspective and ability to present things in a more cohesive way.
No, I think it's an absolutely marvellous album. It's called A Woman, a Man Walked By, and it's released on Island Records, who you've been with for a very long time now. And it seems quite alien in some ways today for a record label to actually have someone who they nurture. And how do you feel at this juncture?
I feel absolutely blessed to be able to be in this position that I'm in. I couldn't want for anything in terms of the level that I'm at, and wouldn't want any more. You know, I certainly am able to walk down the street with no problem at all, and I do think a lot of that is down to what you choose.
Exactly,
you know? And I choose to just go about my life as I always have done, and I've never had any problem with doing that. And I signed with Island Records, I think it was about 91 or 90, at a very good time, in that there still was that ethos behind the label of supporting artists as they grow, of longevity. And they've honoured that with me to this day. And I've always felt a great relationship with them, even though a lot of them...
They've never pushed you to sort of say, oh, we need a hit single? Or
Never, no. I think right from the first album, I made it clear to them that this is what I needed from a label if I am going to work with you, and made sure that my requests were met. And those requests were complete creative freedom and complete judgment over everything that's used in terms of imagery or advertisements or marketing, and they've always honoured that. And I think we've maintained a really good relationship with each other, and I've never felt pushed or cajoled into any area I haven't absolutely wanted to be in an experience at the time myself anyway.
So that album in 2022 is probably on the cards, and Ireland have booked the studio time.
Well, you can never say that. You can never say that, particularly in these days. I don't know that things might change, but I do know that my relationship with them is good, and if we parted ways, it would probably be amicable.
Right.
Set me high, set it up, I'm in the sky.
So, John, has she changed over the years? And how did you first meet? And what were your first impressions? And have those impressions changed? Because, you know, it has been a fair time together.
Yeah, we've been close friends for more than 20 years. So, I mean, we met because Polly started coming to see gigs of my old band, Automatic Lamini. And we were introduced through a friend of mine who played guitar in the band, Jeremy Hogg. He'd met Polly at a party and came back with tales of this girl singing in the back garden who had a really good voice. And Polly started bringing along cassettes of her work, her early songs, probably her first couple of songs, I guess, to hand to me after gigs. And I really liked what she was doing, loved her voice, thought it sounded fantastic. And we sort of chatted, hit it off, and I mean, pretty much from the beginning, there was. I felt very comfortable talking to Polly, and I felt she was interesting in the way she responded to artistic ideas, and I felt that we had. She was just one of those people that I felt I wanted to discuss my work with, and she obviously wanted to discuss her work with me, and we really started that relationship of playing each other our work and talking about it and criticising it from a very early stage. I guess at that time I was probably more able, more comfortable to criticise her work than she was to criticise mine. But it didn't take her that long to, I felt that she was honest.
To start tearing into your stuff. And
well, when appropriate.
Yeah. I can remember when I first heard Dry, I thought I picked it up because I'd read in a review that said, "Oh, the blues for the 21st century" or something like that, and that's what first hooked me. And because I'd always liked bands like Screaming Blue Messiahs and people who actually kept that blues thread, and it seemed at the time like it was a kind of very unusual thing to be doing. So I know you come from a background where the blues was part of your sort of heritage, and it's still. Actually, I remember exchanging emails with Rob Ellis once, and we were talking about the blues, and he said, "Well, everything Polly's ever sung is the blues." So, I mean, tell us a little bit about where you came from and what influenced you.
Well, I was very lucky in that my parents had a fantastic vinyl record collection of great old blues artists, and not only did they have this great collection, but they played music all the time, 24 hours a day in our house, ever since I could remember. And I grew up listening to people like Howling Wolf, Captain Beefheart, John Lee Hooker, Muddy Waters, Bo Diddley. And I could go on and on and on.
You ought to see the smile on her face as she remembers those.
And still to this day, I feel like I've come home when I'm listening to those artists, and I play them all the time for myself to help me through my life still. And I've gone through phases where, obviously teenage years, where I wanted to buy Soft Cell and Spandau Ballet and things like that. Those were my rebellious years, and then I've come back around again, and now I'm going, Mum and Dad, can I borrow this? Can I borrow that? And rifling through their albums, and I just need that music. And
what is it for you? Is it a spiritual thing? I can remember I was very lucky. I interviewed Sam Phillips once, who first recorded Howling Wolf, and I asked him who was the greatest artist you ever recorded, expecting him to say Elvis or Johnny Cash, and he just said Howling Wolf. He said, "This is where the soul of man never dies." He was a bit of a preacher figure, and so he spoke in those sort of portentous phrases. But what for you is that blues root that really?
It's so hard to put into words, isn't it? How can you? All I can say is that the way that particularly Howling Wolf's music makes me feel is quite unlike any other artist I've ever listened to. And there's something that feels so truthful and seems to go right to my core that I could not put words to it, and I can't. I just know that it keeps me feeling well.
That's very well
Yeah.
put. You have put it into words.
Asked her for water. Oh, she brought me gasoline. Oh, asked her for water. Oh, she brought me gasoline. That's the turbulence woman that I ever see. Oh, the church bell toning. Oh, the hearse come driving slow. Oh, the church bell toning. Oh, the hearse come driving slow. I hope my baby don't leave me no more. Oh, tell me, baby. Oh, when are you coming back home? Oh, tell me, baby. Oh, when are you coming back home? You know I love you, baby, but you've been gone too long.
Yeah, and you mentioned Captain Beefheart in there, and this is Resonance FM, where Captain Beefheart is sort of sits at the right hand of God, and essentially you have a relationship with Captain Beefheart. Is that still ongoing?
Yes, although not as much these days. I've never met Don, and I began a phone relationship with him through our good friend Eric Drew Feldman, who, as you know, played in Don's band for a number of years and is a very good friend of Don's. And Don likes to talk on the phone. He loves to talk on the phone for hours at a time. And so I began a phone relationship with him, I think probably in over 10 or 11 years ago. And we still have that to this day, although less so these days. He's getting older, and we don't get as much chance to speak. But I know he still has contact with Eric and another good friend of mine, Maurice Tepper, and I hear how he's doing from them, and he's doing quite well.
Maurice Tepper appeared on this programme, in fact. I've had two Beefheart guitarists on this programme, Gary Lucas as well, and they were both very different. Maurice Tepper seems to be frenetic and totally disorganised, and Gary Lucas is totally controlled. And I expect Don Van Vliet knew exactly what he was doing when he put the two guitars. So has he imparted any wisdom recently, or? Sorry, I'm requesting tablets from the mountain.
No, tablets from the mountain. He often gives me song titles,
Oh, really?
just through a conversation we'll be having, and he'll pick up on something I've said and will say, "That's a song title," or he'll tell me a song I need to write for him. In fact, I've got one to write for him called "Poor God's Blues."
That is a very good
He
title.
gave me the starting verse and everything.
And so is it going to be a sort of Harvey stroke Van Vliet composition
Oh,
then?
quite possibly at some stage. I'd obviously have to check it with him first that he's okay with it. But I know that's happened with Morris. Don is just bursting over with making things all the time. Every single thing that comes out of his mouth, he's already on to the next thing before you've caught up with him making something else.
Right.
But he also wants to divulge that information to you so that you'll also start making something.
Right,
I mean, he's
yeah,
just
inspirational.
an electric nerve ending, a wire just bursting with energy the whole time.
Yeah.
The whole time.
And John, I mean, your music obviously picks up on the Beefheartian thing as well. I mean, there's also one track on How Animals Move where Polly sings the blues, which I was delighted to discover when. But where did you come from?
Aeroplane Blues?
Airplane Blues, yes, the risque, barely described euphemistic.
That's
Yes,
hilarious,
flying
isn't
is
it?
like shagging, essentially. Yeah. So where did you come from in music?
I mean, unlike Polly, my parents, although they're really into music and had a big record collection, it was totally classical.
Well, you
and
do
opera.
see that. You do hear that in your music. I mean, there is that kind of symphonic and compositional element to your music as well. Do you think that seeped in?
Possibly. I mean, I didn't relate to it as a kid. I didn't really. I mean, I quite liked it, and it was nice because people used to come round and sing. Because my mum and dad were in sort of like an amateur operatic society, and everybody used to rehearse in our lounge, and I used to hear that as a kid going to sleep at night, and it was. I enjoyed it, and I liked being around music, but I didn't really relate to it, and it wasn't until I discovered sort of pop music, and specifically T-Rex on Top of the Pops, and I suddenly a little light went on. I was immediately, wow, that's kind of music that I really like. And
yes, me too. I think we might be of a similar age.
Yeah, possibly. And but so for me, everything was, I kind of had to discover everything myself. I didn't have any older siblings, and my parents weren't into it, so it really was a question of finding things on the radio and figuring things out for myself. So I kind of learned things backwards. So I really loved T-Rex and early David Bowie stuff, which was what was really popular when I was a kid. And then I kind of discovered Led Zeppelin, an older kid at school that had got a Led Zeppelin album, and I thought, wow, that sounds good. That seems a bit more grown up. Maybe I'm going to I'll make myself like that. And that was really my introduction to the blues. So I went very much backwards. I mean, I didn't realise that most of the riffs on the first album were actually Howling.
Where it all comes together,
right.
Of course. So, I mean, both of you actually were talking about Captain Beefheart being a multimedia, and that's a very crap phrase, not multimedia, but experimenting in lots of different areas. And you've worked recently, Polly, on production of Hedda Gabler, and also you come from a sculpture background as well. Are there any you want to go into? That,
endless.
endless.
Endless amounts. I don't know, where do you want me to start? I mean, I just,
Is there going to be a novel? You know?
I feel very... one day I would love, and something I'm envious of John for, is that he's written for film soundtracks.
Right,
I'd
yeah.
love to have the opportunity to write an entire score for a film.
Any major film producers out there listening to this program?
I would love to... I'd love to work more with theatre, whether it's making music or whether it's some sort of combination of music and theatre.
Because you did that at Dance Hall at Louse Point, didn't you? There was
Yes.
a dance company
Yeah, very
involved.
short-lived. It was just a shame it didn't get more of an airing.
Is
but
there
we worked with a
any
company
plans of doing
dancers.
a mixed media sort of thing with this album? Or?
Not with this
No,
album,
not with this
no.
record.
Mm-hmm.
No, but I would love to do more with theatre in some capacity. I'd love to do more with my artwork in some capacity. I'd love to one day print some writings of all the extraneous bits of scribblings I do which don't make it to songs, and my drawings, and but a lot of this I do feel should wait until I'm about to say farewell, because by that time hopefully I've got a bit better at it.
Well, yes, I think you're fairly good at it now, actually, I think. You're both quite nuts and bolts people. I sort of notice in the sleeves to her and Is This Desire, there's lots of notes to self, as it were, Polly. And how do you just, in terms of nuts and bolts, go about making music?
I think we probably have quite different ways of the way we go about our work. I don't know if you want to start.
Yeah, I mean, I know. Yeah, Polly's very. She's very.
I think about things.
Yeah, very disciplined
a lot.
and
Do anything or make a note, whereas
I tend to just pick something up and something falls out, or it doesn't. You know,
Right.
more often than not, it doesn't. You know, because it's only the occasional day when everything you play seems to be at the start of an interesting idea, and I don't think about it at the time. I don't think about it in advance, and infuriatingly, I often don't write it down. I generally don't write it down. So then when I come to try and learn to play it or replay it later on, it takes me ages to figure out what I was doing and how I got
But
that
Polly,
sound.
you sort of are more of a kind of note taker, and you do plan things ahead. Then is that?
well, I spend a long time without making notes, but just thinking. I can't put it better than that. I think a lot about what I'm going to be doing with the work, or even specific songs, for a large amount of time. It may even be months. And so when I actually come to make the piece, it's all done and it just comes out of my mouth.
Right.
But I do, towards getting nearer to that point where I open my mouth, I will start making rough recordings or scribblings. And interesting that, actually,
Yeah.
because I think, as I was just thinking then, as people, in our emotions, it's almost the other way.
Yeah,
'Cause
well,
I
I
think
was going to
John
suggest something
can,
like that as well.
you know, he can really handle things in a very contained way and deal with things, and I'm more of like an emotional wreck on the surface. So
Is that why you
almost
called
like the yin
your,
and yang of each other. going on.
You call your publishing company Hothead. Was that a deliberate
Yeah, well, obviously
self-awareness?
Obviously,
or-
a Captain Beefheart,
Captain Beefheart
reference,
yes.
but very good description.
She can burn you up in bed just like she said. Cause she's a hothead, hothead, hothead. She can throw her fight a show. She can start a fire to go. She's a hothead, hothead, hothead. puts her head into the fire, makes her red hot perspire. She's a hothead, hothead, hothead. She was burned before she was born, burning up a storm. She's a hothead, hothead, hothead. Lick out like a flame and burn you to a shame. Fight a burning flame. Slingshot burning wig. She's a red hot pig. She's a hobo wire toaster. She's a circle on a spit. She's a hothead, hothead, hothead. She can stitch you to a wheel, take you to a fire, and spin you round and round. Or you drink you down. She's a hothead, hothead, hothead. Burn you up in bed just like she said, 'cause she's a hothead, hothead, hothead. She can lick out like a flame, burn you to a shame. Yeah, light a burning flame. She can burn you up in bed or coil you up and stay, 'cause she's a hothead, hothead, hothead. She can do it by the show. She can start a fight as go.
And you're touring, but I don't think we really need to say where you're touring because they're all sold out months in advance anyway. So with a band, who's in the band this time round? Are you?
Well, Eric Drew
Right,
Feldman's in
yeah.
the band playing keyboards and some bass. Then we have Giovanni Ferrario, an Italian musician that I met on a couple of records I was making over there, who's playing bass and some guitar. And then Jean-Marc Butty, French drummer.
Again, another guy who's been in the gang for
Yeah, he played on
many
the
years.
To Bring You My Love tour, and he plays in my current band.
And
So-
obviously Flood mixed this record,
Flood
and
mixed this
he's
record,
one of the
and
team
he's
for
one of
years
your
as well.
boys. So the only guy who doesn't seem to ever get called back is Steve Albini.
Ah. As you know, Steve does something very specific and utterly unique. And I really feel that to work with Steve, you've got to want Steve's sound.
Right.
And I love his sound and I would love to work with him again, but I haven't written a body of work that's felt right for him and what he does yet, but I fully intend to. If I have to write a project specifically, I will, because I'm a huge fan of Steve's and Shellac.
Right.
I think they're an incredible band.
You know, you've written for Marianne Faithfull, and you in turn seem to be becoming or have become an icon over the years. Are you comfortable with that? And
I don't really think about it.
Right.
It just doesn't seem like something I naturally think about or should even think
Right.
about, because all I really think about is trying to make good work, and that's really the way it should be.
Absolutely.
Not
it was a
not
crass
paying
question.
too much attention to those sorts of things.
Well, I'm just going to wind up and thank you very, very much for your time. It's been a pleasure. The album is A Woman, a Man Walked by PJ Harvey and John Parish, and they're on tour in April and May. I don't know if the European shows are sold out yet. They probably are as well.
I think so, yeah.
There we go. So you're going to be giving touts business if you go to the live shows, but I'm sure it will be very, very worth it. Thank you both very, very much
Thank you.
indeed.
Thanks a
Thank
lot.
you.
Yeah.
How do we cope with the days after a death? Empty days, nothing left, not even a funeral. I see shapes forming inside paintings, animals and humans, row upon row, walking towards something, waiting for something. I'm looking for an answer. Me and a million others. Disbelievers. Deserted lovers. Dear God, you better not let me down this time. Cracks in the canvas look like roads.